Hey, it's Paul Masetta with another tip, tactic, strategy from this book, the Street Persuasion Playbook. Like I said, I'm just going to randomly crack it open. We'll see what page I land on. So I landed on page 90. There isn't actually a technique on page 90. It's the other half of a technique. So I'm going to flip it over to page 91 where there actually is a technique. And on page 91, we find number 40, which is to modify the time coordinates of your audience. Again, something that you're probably not going to find in many other influence and persuasion books. So when people have to make a decision that involves spending or losing resources, like money or time, they will usually procrastinate in making the decision, and they also devalue what is being offered in their minds. Personal resources are always limited, and if one could avoid reducing one's resources, then that would be the more ideal option. So how do you work around this tendency to say no to a good offer? If the person in front of you is stuck on the present, you have to change their time coordinates. You have to change the way that they view the end result of the decision that you want them to make. So for example, if you're offering an investment that would pay off in a year or two, you need to help them visualize what their financial state would be like in a year or two. They have to be able to see that all of their investments in what you have to offer aren't going to go to waste, and ultimately they will be the one getting the best cut of profit or benefit. If the other person is unable to see this, they're going to walk away and never call you again. You're going to have to work twice as hard to recreate all the influential groundwork that you laid beforehand. If you have to switch the time frame or time coordinates involved twice or even 3 times as much, continue shifting the time coordinates until your subject, prospect, customer, target, other person realizes that they have everything to gain in the end, and the resources that will be invested at the present will all be worth it, right? So sometimes you have to take a person from where they are now and show them how their decision today is going to affect them in 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever it might be. However your product, service, offer is tied into that time frame. Now, it's super important that you tap into their emotions, because if you just explain something to them, like I said, the natural tendency is to procrastinate, right? The natural tendency for all human beings is, if it doesn't affect me today, it can wait until tomorrow, right? And so what you have to show them is not only how it's going to affect them tomorrow, but how they're going to feel as a result of that affecting them. What kind of pain they may experience if they don't act now. What kind of pleasure they may experience. That all depends on the offer. It depends on the subject matter. It depends on what you're talking about. There are certain offers, products, services, topics of conversation where the person's ability to say yes will make them feel more pain, will make them feel more pleasure, or will reduce a certain amount of pain, right? So that's something that you have to figure out beforehand. But you ultimately have to tap into that person's emotions and explain to them and make them feel that emotion today. Make them understand that emotion today. Look, when people go into a doctor and the doctor tells them that they have cancer and that if they don't do something now, they could potentially die, right? People don't wait. Now, I know that's an extreme example, but think about why that example is extreme. What's extreme about it is that that example introduces more fear, the emotion of fear of dying, probably more than anything else that that person has ever felt before, right? Now, I'm not suggesting that you do that to people. What I'm giving you is an example of how when a person can hear a certain message about how something's going to affect them in the future, they decide to act now. Or if maybe a person's been screwing up at their job, right? And they've been getting away with maybe being late. for X amount of time, and then the boss sits them down and tells them that basically if they're late one more time, they're going to get fired, right? And so again, that feeling of fear kicks in. Well, what am I going to do if I don't have a job? How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to put food on the table, right? And ultimately, that emotion of what they will experience later if they don't make a decision now affects them. So you have to be able to modify the time coordinates, but at the same time, you have to be able to tap into the emotion that that person will experience later by either making a decision or not making a decision today. Like I said, I got 101 techniques just like this in this book. Go ahead, grab your copy today. All you got to do is click the link below in this video, wherever we put it. You can get a digital version of this book.